Welcome to AG Chelsea TV. In today's video, I'll take a look at the latest Chelsea FC news. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss my latest videos. Cesar Azpilicueta undergoes Atletico Madrid medical ahead of Chelsea exit. The veteran defender had been expected to join Inter after agreeing a contract with the Serie A side, but Atletico made a late swoop to lure Azpilicueta back to Spain and quickly convinced him to head to the Wanda Metropolitano instead. A 2-year contract is on the table for Azpilicueta, who is in Madrid for medical tests ahead of sealing his exit from Chelsea. Chelsea have granted Azpilicueta a free transfer away from Stamford Bridge as a show of respect to the 33-year-old, who joined in 2012 and has made more appearances for the club than any other overseas player. Azpilicueta came close to a return to Spain last year when Barcelona came calling, but the defender instead opted to stay at Chelsea to help steer the Blues through their transition to the Blue co-ownership era. However, with game time now hard to come by for the 33-year-old, Azpilicueta will now be allowed to leave the club and he has chosen Atletico for his new home. Chelsea are already prepared for his departure, bringing in right-back Malo Gusto from Lyon in January, while the returning Levi Colwill will also ensure the Blues are not caught out at centre-back either. Azpilicueta will leave Chelsea with 508 appearances to his name, putting him 6th on the club's all-time appearance charts, and a trophy cabinet full of 9 pieces of silverware. Mason Mount admits he wanted Man United transfer months ago. In parting shot at Chelsea, Mason Mount has risked the wrath of Chelsea by claiming he made his mind up about joining Manchester United months ago. The England international completed his move to Old Trafford this week, signing for an initial £55 million with a further £5 million due in add-ons. Mount offered an emotional farewell to Chelsea upon his departure. Having been at Stamford Bridge since the age of 6, the move came after months of speculation regarding his future in West London, with conflicting reports regarding his situation. The 24-year-old ultimately left with 1 year remaining on his contract, having failed to reach an agreement on an extension. But Mount, speaking in his first interview as a United player, has now suggested that decision came from the club, rather than him. Asked how the move came about, he said, "Several months ago, it became clear that I wasn't in Chelsea's plans moving forward. Once I knew United were interested, my decision was made up. It is a massive club with huge iconic players who have played here and I wanted to be a part of that. A main objective of mine was to get in early, ready for pre-season." Mauricio Pochettino wants Chelsea to trigger Paulo Dybala's £10 million release clause. Chelsea could make a shock swoop for Roma superstar Paulo Dybala, with Mauricio Pochettino keen to trigger his compatriot's release clause, according to reports in Italy. The West London club have already bolstered their attacking options with the signings of Nicolas Jackson from Villarreal and Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig. They are now focusing on bringing in a new defensive midfielder, with Brighton's Moises Caicedo their top target, as well as trimming a still very bloated squad. Once those tasks have been dealt with, however, Italian newspaper Corriere dello Sport are reporting that Chelsea could make a swoop for Dybala. Only 5 teams scored fewer goals than the Blues in the Premier League last season, who only averaged a goal a game in a disappointing campaign, and they have already sold top scorer Kai Havertz to Arsenal in a £65 million deal. Pochettino feels Dybala would be the ideal accompaniment to bring additional firepower to his attack and is keen for Chelsea to explore a deal. Although the Argentina international would command a big salary, release clause in his contract with Roma means clubs outside of Serie A can sign him for just €12 million, £10 million. Chelsea plan to accept Raheem Sterling offer. Chelsea are very open to selling Raheem Sterling this summer, sources have told Football Insider. Sterling is attracting interest from clubs in Europe, the UK, and Saudi Arabia. Sources have told Football Insider that his future is now even more up in the air and the club are in favour of recouping his wages for new talent. Sterling put pen to paper on a 5-year deal from Man City last summer, which includes the option of a further 12 months. The Blues spent £47.5 million on the England international, but are willing to let him depart as interest in his services picks up. The winger made 38 appearances for Chelsea across all competitions last season, netting 9 goals and 4 assists in those outings. He started 23 out of 28 Premier League games, despite struggling with a hamstring problem in the middle of the season. Chelsea are in desperate need to ship players out this summer, as they look to balance the books after a heavy season of spending under new owner Todd Boehly. £20 million Chelsea star edging close to exit as Italian club increase offer. Italian giants AC Milan have submitted an increased bid for forward Christian Pulisic as they look to add the United States forward to their attacking lineup. French side Lyon had shown interest and were at some point leading the charge, but glitches in their financial statements have meant they are not outside looking in. Milan built a great relationship with Chelsea over the last few seasons, having done business with them for the signing of Oliver Giroud, Fikayo Tomori, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Pulisic hasn't kicked on in the last 2 seasons with injuries and form denying him the consistency he needs, and there is a general consensus that a move away will benefit both the player and the club. Chelsea have decided to change direction of the club, having already said goodbye to Mateo Kovacic, Kai Havertz, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and N'Golo Kanté. Long-serving captain Cesar Azpilicueta is also in the final stages of his negotiations that will see him terminate his contract at the club and move back to Spain, paving the way for him to join Atletico Madrid. And that's the final content of today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications to support me.